as a bigot. And I was certainly very much opposed to forced busing, and my argument was very simple, that A, it was economically stupid, B, it was causing more racial friction, and C, there were other ways to accomplish the same goal. They didn't hear that. I suggested, for example, think about this. What if we took all the kids' names and threw them into a hat and drew them out, and drew their school assignments out that way? Then you wouldn't be doing it by race, but you would end up with racial integration. What if we did it alphabetically? Put the A's, B's, and C's in this school, the D's, E's, and F's in that school, and you would, again, not be selecting people because of their race, but you would still end up with integration.
That would have saved the problem in my life in public school, which I was always the end of selection lists, because my last name starts with a W.
With a W, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm all for that.
I submit integration was about breaking up communities.
Well, they had a agenda.
Boston never had a segregated school system. They had
a segregated housing system.
They had neighborhood school districts that hadn't changed for decades.
That's correct.
I happened to be growing up in Dorchester in a border section of Dorchester where Irish Italians were moving out, the Jews were there, weren't going anywhere, and blacks were moving in. The district I was in was probably 5 or 10% black. I've looked at some of the class pictures from that time. I discovered recently, interestingly enough, that for 1 year when Ben Carson was living in Boston with his aunt on Glenway Street, he and I attended the same school.
Oh my goodness.
He was 2 years ahead of me.
He's one of my favorite people in the whole world.
And that is in the allegedly segregated Boston school
it's
system.
just...
Do you know anything about the story of the redlining?
I lived it.
My wife grew up in Mattapan.
You know the book Death of a...
I've heard about it. It's
It's very acculately written. That I lived it. I lived it.
My wife's family was like the last Jewish family in Mattapan in her neighborhood to leave.
We were literally driven out of Dorchester. My grandmother was living with us. We were literally driven out by having rocks thrown at us by the black people that were being moved into destabilize the neighborhoods.
Rocks don't have any color. When they hit you, they hurt you.
I have a question.
Yes.
You can put it on hold. The difference between nationalism and globalism.
Well,
We don't need to deal with it right now.
that's a tough one. Nationalism, generally speaking, is the word is used to describe people who are super patriotic about their own country, even to the point of being warlike. That is the way that word is generally used. Globalism is the idea that somehow we can melt in all of the different cultures of the world and all get along and all treat each other the same. It doesn't work that way. You have people in this world who hate us, who hate the way we live, who hate the way we do business, and who wish us harm. How you have globalism.
What globalism really means is an absolute abrogation of an individual's sovereign right in his own life.
It's world socialism.
It's world socialism. It denigrates and denies that the individual has any right to even be in the world.
Yes, but you see, there's this problem here. What's going on is they use, and they do this is the problem with the EU, and whether Britain will join it or leave it, they use the language of liberalism, small l, free trade, flow of information, use of, coherent money systems, and then when it comes down to it, they institute an enormous bureaucracy that violates sovereignty. Okay, and you go from one to the other. You go from a coal union to you go from some trade agreements with Mexico to suddenly an overarching thing that enforces all these environmental regulations. And the thing I think we should make a distinction between nationalism and patriotism, although those are both fuzzy terms. But the nationalism that's toxic, that regards our national interests as a zero-sum game,
Exactly.
We're for us, and that for somebody else out there, some country has to lose.
And the globe, if you want to see the root toxicity of globalism, just look at the Declaration of Rights of the UN. It talks about rights of states, not rights of people.
I've got to run. I have a daughter that's going to be waiting for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks a lot. Look, come again.
Yeah, invite me.
And we will.
I'd love to do this again.
And we will grow our audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love
And
to
you don't
do it
mind
again
if I post you videos either, right?
No, please.
Okay.
I have a lot of questions we didn't have time for tonight.
Oh, okay.
No times when may apply, no offense.
Thank you.
No times may apply.
Thank you, sir.